Why don't we start here? Let's start with Joe. We'll start Joe, go to the table, and end up here with Shelby. We introduce ourselves.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Joe Calabrigo, Town Manager. Good to see everyone.
Lee Halverson, Veterans Building representative here, after the Exchange Club this morning.
Just widow Bob, resident.
And an instructor.
Don Reed, resident.
Emily Struthers, I'm in Senator Mark Bisoni's office.
Hi, I'm Steve Simpkins. I'm your police chief. I won't say the rude face. Good morning, everybody.
Ray Bishop, resident. Sam Altschiller, resident.
Robert Storr, currently vice mayor.
Nat Rojanasa, assistant to the town manager.
Roxanne?
Roxanne Lindsay, the Altamont Corridor Express train.
Good morning, I'm Sang Levon from the Danville Library.
Sandra Biancanello, resident.
Lou Biancanello, our husband.
I'm Mike Cooper, resident in California, Chateau.
Ken Mintz, I'm president of the Board of Education and the local representative for AT&T.
I'm Jerry Warren, the president of the museum board.
I'll stand up. I'm Jim Crocker. I'm representing the Rotary Club of Danville.
Tom Baker, I'm a member of the San Ramon Valley Rotary Club, also the Chamber of Commerce, and I have a business called Send Out Cards. Thank you.
I'm Gail Israel. I'm with County Supervisor Candace Anderson's staff.
I'm Cindy Peters, representing Discover Danville Association and Northside Service Company.
Shelby McNamara, I'm the president of the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce.
Well, great. Well, welcome everybody. And the best dressed person today with the nicest looking tie is our camera person, Jeff. So, Jeff, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. And by the way, I would just note this: only you and Matt are the only two wearing ties today. So very, very good.
So, Chief.
Well, we're excited, and the chief always does. If he's not wearing his police uniform, he's wearing a tie. So, and he's going to look good today because immediately following this, there is a really interesting concept going on in the Valley right now, and it's about mental health first aid. And what it is, we all know first aid, how to help somebody they've fallen, they've broken a limb or something like that. Mental health first aid is something, truthfully, we think we know, but we really don't. So there's a group of almost 30 of us, kind of under the guidance and leadership of Discovery Counseling Center, decided that we needed to reach out in the community in a different way, and asked an organization which is called Mental Health First Aid to come in and do training. And actually, it's a certified course. It's 2 days, and we'll be in our second day later today. And it is to give you those tools that you need to recognize what is mental health, what are the signs of it, and particularly for those of us that are involved in children and youth, is how to recognize those signs and how to get help. So you're going to hear more about that over the next year, particularly before school starts, as we reach out even further into the community to get coaches, to get youth guidance counselors, and just people that work with youth in general to become trained in this area, and again, to create that concept of a healthier community. So that's something we'll talk about kind of as it comes forward over the next couple of months, but it's something I think, keep your ears open and your eyes open for what's called mental health first aid. And hopefully you'll be able to wear one of those stickers that says, I know how to do CPR and I know how to do mental health first aid. So today, and for those of you who just came in, is this still on? Yes, sorry. When you stand in the right spot, you absolutely can't hear anything unless you walk right about there where the speaker is. So this is a little bit of a repeat of what we did for the Chamber of Commerce, but there are a few less slides and a few new ones. So if you've seen it before, the test is you have to tell me what you've seen. And as I told Shelby, if she was sleeping there and she sees something new, I'm going to test her if it really was in the last one. So I'm going to go quickly and then we'll turn it over to you to kind of talk about what's going on. So in sort of a fast-paced thing is what's happening in the town of Danville. These are just sort of a few of the highlights of where are we going? What did we just accomplish? There was obviously a lot of news about what was happening in our general plan update. I'm going to give you a quick summary of That was about, talk about our local economics, talk about what do we do regionally, how do we have to compete, what's changing, and most importantly, where are we headed? And that's sort of the ultimate question. And interesting statistics, our population still hovers around 43,000. So when you go back to the year 2000, and you fast forward to today, we've only grown about 30 people a year. So if you think about it, over a decade, we added barely 300 people. Now, when you look at any other community in Contra Costa County, and particularly you look to the south of us in San Ramon, which added thousands of people, what does that tell you? Danville is built out, and we will remain that way. Even though there's all these projections, well, you have to be able to accommodate growth, the reality is that the pace that we're going is the pace we're going to stay at. And we might build, you know, as an average 15, 18 houses. That's kind of historically what we've done over the past 13 years. Let me go back one. Sorry, this is going faster than me. A couple of things to note that our retail businesses, this demographic is, obviously we have more restaurants than we do retail businesses, which was what we're known for, leisure services. So it's still the highest demand. It's the biggest request we get, I think, in the planning department is, I'd like to open a restaurant. Well, there's also certain places you can and certain places you can't do that. But our service businesses of 470, and guess what? We have 80 spas. Now, those service businesses also include things that might be considered leisure services, which include nail salons, hair places like that. That's a really high number, and I should have broken that out, but it didn't apply to me, so I generalized it. But just as important as home-based businesses, nearly 2,000. And there's an interesting economic study that we're doing right now, and the council just got kind of a window into what that looks like. It's a very in-depth study about the economics, the growth, the trends, the types of businesses. So some of you, if you have home-based businesses or even brick-and-mortar business, you may be getting a call to do a survey. And we hope you'll do that, and we hope for those that are listening at home, participate in this, because what we're trying to find is, who are we? What do we look like? You know, what is it like underneath the coat? Not as term as I used to be, but the fact is we need to find out what we look like and who we are. And so what we're going to do is then with the chamber and our business organizations is talk about that. How can we react to it? What do we need to react to? So that'll be coming up. So this was the big deal. You saw a lot of press. Our planning commission really got beat up by a lot of folks, some folks that were from this area, and a lot of folks that weren't from here. And what was the controversy? Well, we're required to have a general plan, and in that general plan, it basically talks about what are you going to do physically? What are you going to physically do over a fixed period of time? So our 2010 general plan predicted that we were going to be built out, and guess what? It was absolutely right. And the statistics show that. You can talk about, well, Danville's more traffic. Well, guess what? There's more traffic. It's not from those 30 people here. So where's it coming from? It's coming from our neighboring communities. It's coming from cut-through traffic, believe it or not, all the way over the Altamont. The 580, 680 interchange is so impacted for those people coming, when they're coming westward from the Central Valley on 580, and they want to go north on 680, you can't make that turn. So one of the regional issues we're working on is get the funding to fix that. Because right now, and it's just simple math, it's faster to go 35 or 45 miles an hour on local streets and cut through Danville. So if we all jumped outside, got in a helicopter and flew over Camino Tasajara out by Tasajara Hill School, and you were hovering up there, what you'd see is a line of traffic coming from two places, funneling through Danville, coming down Camino Tasajara to Sycamore, and some coming down Diablo. So that is an indirect effect, nothing to do with Danville. So some of us talked about joking, let's put a toll gate out. Well, we can't do that, it's a public road. But we have to be conscious of that and figure out how to solve those problems. So while it's not in Danville, we have to figure out how to play in the sandbox with all those other cities to make that an important value. And we're really fortunate to have those relationships. It is one of our top priorities. So the general plan was what we were going through, was to update that. The net result is, I'll give you the secret, we basically did what we had been doing for the past 30 years. Danville has been one of those few communities to preserve 40% of our land area is in permanent open space. That open space is something that is what defines us. It's what we look like. When you stand, if we go outside, you can look from here out in the front area, both directions, what you see are hillsides. And mostly, there are no homes on those. If there are some homes sort of sneaking up that hillside, they were most likely built before we became a town. And the reason why is because our hillside ordinance don't allow you to build over there. And our ordinance is also, and deeply embedded in our general plan, is preservation of open space by what's called density transfer. And I'll show you an example of that. If you had 500 acres, and you had the right to build one house for every 5 acres, the math says you can build 100 houses. Well, instead of having them build on 500 acres and building all over that entire hillside, we require through our general plan to take those number of houses, subtract out non-buildable areas, subtract out those areas where you had easements, either scenic easements or waterways and things like that. And maybe on a project like that, you might end up with 80 or 90 houses. Build it on the smallest piece of property possible in the least impactful area. And then in turn, donate all the rest of that property to public open space. And that is as simple as it gets. That's how Danville was created. The Sycamore Valley is a great example of that. All the houses are built down near the streets and the parks, and behind, on both of those hillsides and those ridges, that's open space. That's what's different about Danville. Other communities have not done that. You go to Lafayette, all the way to the peaks. Every single peak practically in Lafayette or Orinda has houses built on top. We chose a different path, and that's part of why we incorporated. So our planning commission made a recommendation to us to basically approve the general plan, largely what it was before, and it had 2 exceptions in it. And the exceptions is one, we had to introduce Measure S, which we had put, did this die? I didn't touch it. That's amazing. This is the plan that we produced in there. That color diagram is what tells us what we can or cannot do in Danville. And in fact, there were only two changes to that entire general plan. And we had 2 sites, one that was considered office space that we did a study on, and we held study sessions. We talked about it over the past 3 years on Diablo, as whether or not that would be a site that would be a good place to do housing in lieu of doing office space. The office buildings are probably the oldest in town. They're kind of 2-story walk-ups. Not in the best condition. So that was an option. Property owner, we didn't have objection in the community about that, so we picked that as an opportunity site. And also the site that's commonly called the Burrell site, and that's where the old walnut orchards are. It was part of Burrell, originally owned Costco and Marshalls and all that property. And over time, because of the zoning that they had, they've sold some of that property. Well, now, part of that property is likely to become permitted open space. But the southern portion of that was zoned as commercial, but it's right against residential. And the neighborhood said, you know, could you give us a buffer? Maybe build some residential before we do the commercial. And that way, those people that move in there will know what they're buying into. Because quite honestly, there could be some people that lived there before that zoning occurred, if they were here over 30-something years ago. And so that seemed to be a fair trade. So that was the second site we changed. And that's really essentially what we did. Now, did we meet state law to meet our what's called affordable housing requirement? Absolutely. Have we always done it? Absolutely. And I challenge you to tell me, where is it? And do you think we did a good job of that? Well, first of all, most of you wouldn't know where it is. And I asked a group of people the other day, and the leadership San Ramon Valley, these were people very engaged. None of them could figure out where our affordable housing is. Because largely it's here in Danville by design. It's market driven. So when somebody proposes to build 10 or 15 houses, we require 15% of those to be affordable by design. So what is by design? It means I live in a house that's about 2,000 square feet, and 2 houses over, it's 3,000 square feet. So he's 50% bigger. So guess what his house value is? it's 50% more than mine. So mine is more affordable by design. So my house is a little smaller. So our marketplace drives based on square footage, the size of the houses, the lot size, and those combinations. So what we see is that the small lot, the small house, that becomes affordable by design. So our inclusionary ordinance was way to accommodate that. And Greenbrook is probably one of the best examples, way before we incorporated as a town. That was really a model for how you build affordable housing. Now, why is Greenbrook? It has beautiful greenways, award-winning project, a fantastic master plan. Because it has townhomes, that's affordable by design, it's smaller, more cost-effective. They have duplexes. And duplexes where they sit on a corner. So they each duplex entry faces a different street. So they have individual addresses. So that's affordable by design. So while there seemed to be a lot of rhetoric in there, when it came to the council, we said, we were very clear, we were going to do what we've always done in the past. Tell us what's wrong with that. And by the way, we have an absolute legal, moral, ethical responsibility to adhere to state law. And if we don't like it, that's our job and your job to go fight with the state of California. And we do that. But the fact is what we have done is we've implemented state law, and we've done it in a way that's absolutely perfect for Danville. And so when you look at the things that we've done, we really said, and we made a promise, we were going to largely do exactly what we did before. And the last quickly thing, these two red arrows, that represents the lower red is pointing to a piece of property that's sometimes called Elworthy East. And Elworthy, as you know, is one of the old families here that were ranchers, owned a lot of property here, the last property that they owned. So we kind of keep calling it Elworthy Ranch. It's slightly north of Croquet Country Club. It's a piece of property that has an overlay zoning of agricultural use. The underlay zoning is 1 unit to every 5 acres. So they have rights. The other property at the top is the one that's referred to as the McGee Ranch, not the McGee Ranch housing development, but the McGee Ranch as in a active cattle farm. It is also zoned, has an agricultural zoning overlay, and it has a mixed variety of zoning on it. Some of the property is zoned at 1 unit for every 20 acres, some for 1 unit for every 5, and some 1 unit for an acre. Those two properties are subject to the only other change we made in our general plan, and that's called, it's subject to our Measure S. If we recall back in the year 2000, we had seen a lot of these large properties come in asking for general plan amendments. What they were saying was, I can only build 80 houses, I want to build 400. And here's all the reasons why. And they would fight us and spend millions of dollars. So the council put on there, and we successfully got it passed by 76% of the voters, to say, no more of that. The only way that you can change your entitlement, whatever your existing zoning is, if you ask for that general plan amendment, is that only the voters can approve that. So that would mean the way the processes work, it go through the planning commission. The planning commission would have to recommend, yeah, we want to add more homes or more entitlement. The council would have to say, okay, we agree with that. At the point in time that we say we agree, there's no decision made until that would go to a public vote. So you're going to hear more about the upper property. The lower property has almost no development rights because of the terrain, the issues with soil and things like that. We've seen some people try over the past 20 years, it may get 10 houses, maybe 12 at that. So Measure S does apply to the McGee Ranch properties. It applies if they ask for a general plan amendment. Now the project has not come to the council, so we can't tell you what our view is of it, but we'll find out. And if it meets the test, we have to apply the law the way it was written. So we'll find out about that. But that's also another property that has about 400 acres. It would also come to us eventually, if it follows the rules that we have in the general plan, is to take all that development right, not build anything on the hillsides, find the smallest piece of property possible, the least impactful on that side, and the least number of homes. So mathematically, that property should get about 80-something houses. It'll probably get 60, maybe less. And it will probably build on maybe 15 to 20 acres of that property. And all of the rest of that, the other 380 acres, will become permanent open space. And that also then will connect all the open space that's in the Sycamore Valley. So those are the two projects. Those are, if you would say, are they controversial? They're of public interest. And they should be of public interest. These are important things. These are part of the values of what has made Danville what it is today, given its uniqueness. So that was the lesson of, this was Elworthy Ranch West. So California Chateau, where Mike lives, I used to live right here, that was 500 acres. Part of the property does go over the county line, but aggregately, the whole property was 500 acres. They ended up getting to build in that little yellow area. Now, it looks raw right now because it is under construction, no different when California Chateau got built. Well, California Chateau got built way up the hill, way up the hill. So you can see this hill slopes up this way. California Chateau with Peters Ranch comes all the way up here. Well, look where that's being built. So our open space standard with Measure S said you're gonna build on 12 acres. And they basically got 82 single family homes and a little apartment building with about 12 units. Now, the area they built on was the little flat piece of land that's there. So to California Chateau, because there's a hillside there, they can't even see that project. California Chateau and the neighbors there originally came out, as I would, as anybody would, I'm concerned about this, I don't think we ought to do this. Went through a series of public hearings. It's one of the few public hearings where both those neighborhoods showed up and said, you know what, this is the right solution. Let's preserve that open space. We'll never have to have another discussion about those houses being built all the way up on the ridge line. So that's an example of how Measure S worked. Measure S only had applied to 3 properties, according to our general plan. So the other part of our plan, and there were some people who just philosophically, rhetorically, or whatever, has had an issue with what the word called sustainability. It was a visceral reaction to that word. And I'm not going to go back through all of the rhetoric and why. We're required to do a sustainable action plan that's as part of our general plan. That's part of the update. The state of California came up with a series of law. In fact, Senator Mark DeSaulnier put one of the bills for that. Sustainability is something that Danville has been doing for more than a decade. Sustainability is, by the way, is using fluorescent lights, energy efficient lights. This building has solar panels. We were told, well, we don't like solar panels. Well, we just did a solar project to put in solar voltaic panels out at Diablo Vista Park, Sycamore Valley Park, next to our service center, and they're now going in where police cars are parked in the backside of our main administrative building. We'll save almost $200,000 a year. Our return on investment, the payback, is barely 10 years. It's about 9.5 years. I don't know about you, but if I could get that kind of return on my money, sign me up. It's a good investment. So whether you believe in sustainability or not, and I think the belief system is about the science. We're not here to argue about the science, nor does our plan talk about the science. It talks about what are the good practices we can do to be as kind as we can to the existing resources that we have. How do we make sure that we're being efficient about water usage? Because, by the way, it saves all of us in this room a lot of money. We're putting in a new irrigation system that will better manage and better sense the water levels, the subterranean levels. We're putting in a larger water meter so we can put water faster, so we don't have to water all day long, so we can get all of our water at night. That's sustainable action. Sustainable action is encouraging people to do a whole host of a variety of things. Robert Storr, our vice mayor, is driving us all crazy. He now has an electric car. By the way, how many miles to the gallon do you get, Robert?
174 on a good day and 144 on a bad day.
So, there you go. Now.
But no place to plug in.
Right. So, we're going to work on that. Swipe your credit card. So when Robert comes to your house, he says, can I plug in? And our town manager says when he comes to his house, he says, here's my keys, could you put a few gallons of gas in my car? So there's some new etiquette that will from that. So sustainability was doing smart things. These are the panels, similar panels that we're putting out, although they're painted Danville green. And it's a smart thing to do. It's not required in our sustainability action plan. But there was a visceral reaction, wipe it out, don't do it. You can try to figure out why. It's a smart thing to do. It's in a way to encourage people to do the right thing. This could be considered sustainability. This is part of our business promotion plan for Old Town Danville. It's called wayfinding. It's a way to brand, and it's a way to create an image. We always care about what our signs look like. The council, we looked at the bases, we looked at the diameter, we looked at the top, we looked at the color, the graphics, the size, and you may have seen, driving our poor town manager crazy, we did mock-ups around town, we'd stand out there, we'd do tours. It's not quite right. And the reason why, it's important. Everything we do, whether it be our general plan or worrying about signs, that is what will brand Danville and make us look. The idea is, instead of, for new people, we have so many special events, we want people to know where to park, where are the assets, where is the museum in the San Juan Valley, where is our parking lot, the one that's hidden behind the building right here. So part of this is that plan, and it does kind of create an image. It's part of the street furniture, the street vocabulary. You're going to see the north end of town, finally, in my lifetime, in Joe's lifetime. You're going to see the north end of town. The road's going to be redone. It's going to be, it's actually going to be stunning. We're going to have the old trees. We're going to have the old-fashioned street lights, trees, the brick pavers, the new paving down there. It will look like Old Town Danville. And a lot of new opportunity as those properties are turned over. So that's coming. And as I told people, when all else fails, if you don't believe in our general plan, let's just go back to horse and buggy. But by the way, there's an environmental hazard that goes with that. There's a cleanup crew. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So you've got to balance all of this. So is that sustainable? Yeah. You know, there are people who say the methane gases are. So national and regional interests, big deal. We have to, these are all of the organizations that we have to be involved with. People are concerned about the Association of Bay Area Governments, ABAG, Metropolitan Transportation, MTC. You know what? The absence of us participating in those organizations is we have to deal directly with the state of California. And by the way, my pockets have been absolutely emptied by the state of California. So you know what? I would much rather work with these organizations. By the way, they're only made up of elected officials. Only made up of elected officials. They are governed by elected officials. Robert Storr is our representative at ABAG. Amy Worth is head of Metropolitan Transportation from Orinda. Association of Bay Area Governments is headed up by Julie Pierce from Contra Costa County and Clayton. You know what? Those are friends of ours. Know your friends. Keep them close. Keep your enemies closer, that saying. The fact is it's a local elected officials, and it is us. The absence of that is the state of California. Which would you choose? So this is just, obviously, our two new representatives, George Miller, Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell has a portion of Danville, which is basically all of Crow Canyon Country Club. George Miller is everything else in Contra Costa County. People that we have gotten to know, we visit with them, we stay close to them, we help. Our area here is absolutely as nice as it is and as good as it is and has the quality because of our volunteers. Our volunteers at the library that work with SANG, our volunteers that work with our police department, our lend a hand. Without those, you can kind of do the math. You know, they provide 8 to 10 full-time positions here. Volunteers are an extraordinary part of our hometown gatherings are what make us unique. We foster that. It takes an incredible amount of energy, time, and it costs the town a lot of money. But we believe it's worth it because it's part of the values and the culture of our community. Just some of the nights, the hot summer nights from the movies on the green. If you have young kids or grandkids, get your sleeping bags. It's going to start here pretty quick. On Town Green in front of the library, outdoor movies, bring your sleeping bag. And during the winter, we have Friday night movies, $5 for the movie, popcorn, everything's included at the Village Theater. So these are just, and our farmers market is just, it doesn't get better than that. I had somebody ask the other day, why do we have commercial folks in there? This is the farmers market. Well, the reason why we started the farmers market was to actually get people to come downtown. So this slide, and Joe always cringes on this, you know what makes Danville different? Can you do the math there? So San Ramon and some of our other cities, look what they have to spend per capita, that's per person. And I've subtracted out there, if they had a fire department as included or something else, to level back the playing field if they had a special district. We do it with less because we have less money per capita. You didn't hear us making significant cuts or anything in the downturn in the economy. We had the same downturn as everybody else did. We manage our business uniquely and different than the other 485 cities. We are, and I say this proudly, and it'll come from me, it'll come from all of our council, and if you're involved in our town, we're the best managed city, bar none. And we're financially the most responsible city, bar none. And it's because of a deep-seated philosophy that has really been for about 18, 19, almost 20 years. And there was a time we were not that city. And we really evolved. We figured out we do not have debt. It took us a long time to save the money to do this project. And we do it by saving money. It's our economic development. We are very different than other cities in that we don't have all the national brands. So guess what? It takes a lot of work by Discover Danville, a lot of work by the Chamber of Commerce, and the town in partnership to foster an economic environment that will allow those non-national brands, our local stores, to survive. Because when a national brand advertises, that advertisement works all over the United States. They got 500 stores. Well, here, it only works for that store in this local area. Our sales tax, like most cities, peaked in 2007 and dropped. Well, a year ago, it's actually above that peak. Nobody is there. The county itself is still about 15% behind. This year, we're even higher than that. Now, is every business doing perfectly? No. Just like any company, people have to figure out the right way to formulate their business in a new economy. But what the math shows us is it's an extraordinary effort, is paying off, that businesses are doing exceptionally well on our retail sector. And our service sector is growing greatly. Recreation services is still, we were not going to get in this business back in 1982. We were a limited service city, we weren't going to do recreation. But through a series of events and the demands, we really had to get into it. Now, that is pretty much a cost recovery system other than for our seniors and for our really young kids. And those we do subsidize those areas. And the rest of it is pretty much a pay-as-you-go system. Our registrations are the easiest thing to do. It's all online. Exciting things. One of our instructors here on cane, on safety, self-defense. Actually, you're right here in this building, aren't you?
No, I'm at the town meeting.
Oh, town meeting.
We make too much noise.
Tougher floor. That's oak floors. These are maple. Those are tougher floors over there. So the point is, if there's anything you want to do, if you want to learn how to do taxes, you want free help on taxes, if you're a senior, you can do that right here in this building. But almost virtually anything you can imagine. And if we're not doing it, let us know. And we'll find somebody to do it. We'll try it. If it gets a good review, they'll be back. Capital projects are a big deal. It's one of our biggest challenges as a community. You want to pay all your bills, but you want to make sure you can maintain things. Don't build it if you can't maintain it, because you will go broke as an organization in the future. So cautiously, when we build something, our first question is, can we afford to pay for this for the next 50 years? And if you can't answer that question, then don't do it. Danville South Park, I'll just mention that. It's a park most people have never heard of. Well, if you drive down Commuter Ramon, you'll actually see, oh, there's a new park there. Well, that park's been there forever. It's just we're opening it up, kind of creating a Danville look to it. Used to have sound walls that kind of hid the park, a little gateway to get in. But the park has been there a long time. Our sustainable plan is also called for us. We've been putting in bike racks and things around town. You'll start to see those, a bike corral. But our challenge is this. There's no question the state of California, through its authority, has spent its last 2 decades, since the early 1990s, figuring out how to steal the success that cities have created. And I don't care who you are, and whether Mark's a friend of mine or Joan, that is the reality, that's the pressure that's put upon them because of their needs and a whole long list of reasons. Our job has been trying to figure out how to fight. We've had great local support here on education. There's a huge challenge coming up right now in a new realignment formula that is not well conceived. It missed a fundamental thing, and if it tells you anything of who is figuring out how to do this at the state level, they said, oh, well, growth will come, the amount of money that you get for your school district will come through tax increases, property tax increase. Well, that sounds okay. Maybe in this area that's not bad. Well, by the way, we're adding almost 1,000 students a year. Oh, well, we forgot about that. Well, in the state of California, you're adding hundreds of thousands of students a year. And in the formula, they said, well, we forgot about that. That gives me what kind of confidence for you? I'm not sure that they're big. And it's also not being proposed as a bill. It's hidden in committees. So it's not in writing. So you can't sit there and analyze it. You have to chase the information and chase the rumors. It's something that we all need to be worried about. So hopefully, I know we've got two people who are very concerned about education, as we are locally. Transportation, I only highlight, there's a lot of things we do in transportation. The most successful thing we have done is called the Traffic Bus Program. This is a congestion relief. San Juan Valley Monte Vista High School now has 2 buses. They'll have a third. The middle school, Los Cerros, Green Valley, Vista Grande all have buses. We got the school district to adjust the bell times so we can efficiently do this for $1 a day. You can ride the bus to and from school. At the elementary and middle schools, we have 50% of the kids in those schools riding the buses. San Ramon correspondingly also has similar buses. We picked the most congested areas that had congestion that we couldn't build our way out. Because they used to be neighborhood schools, now they're regional schools. Fantastic. That's kind of a number. Almost 1 million miles less of car miles a year, and at any given day, 2,500 cars that are not going to those schools. It's a huge impact. Public safety, don't do a crime in Danville. You know, nationally, only 11% of crimes are solved. Contra Costa County, about 17%. Any given day, you know, it's going to be anywhere from 30 to 60% in solving crimes. Our chief, who's here with us today, the best phone call he makes is, we got him. And then you have to ask, well, which one? Oh, here's the list. From solving the crimes and all the burglaries that have been happening here in town, finding the 2 culprits that are doing that, chasing them all the way to Los Angeles, getting LAPD on one of those scams for lottery scams. So you think it's a victimless crime. The people that do this, that help, are generally seniors, and they really are generally trying to help somebody. And for once, it's never prosecuted. They don't have the resources. Our chief sent a team down, and we got it. And LA showed up. So upcoming events, real quickly here. There is a fantastic new play, Requiem for a Heavyweight. If you ever watched The Twilight Zone, and Rod Serling, who wrote that series, well, this actually goes back to a play that he had written. It's being performed here. It starts. Lend a Hand is coming up. The council is going to be working on our budget sessions on all the Tuesdays from 9 to 12 a.m. at the town offices. We'll be going through budget. Business Promotion Fund applications are due. 1-year anniversary of this building here on May 2nd. Legislative action days for both education and the League of California Cities, and all cities are going on the legislative, so 2 days here in April. If you're interested in joining us on any of those things, let us know. Some of those are just open, you just show up. We enjoy your input. It's a fascinating process to see our budget. It's the most complicated thing we do. And it takes us more than a month to get through that process. Renee Morgan is our new council member, and I'm proud to say these are my fellow council members. And this is the greatest place to serve and the greatest place to live. Thank you. And that's it. So we've got just about 20 minutes. Go around the room for those who are part of organizations that would like to. Let's start with the organizations. If there's anything you want to talk about, announcements, events. Tom, you want to start? Sure. I think you got a couple.
Sure. First of all, I noticed there's quite a few seniors here that say resident.
Thank you.
And I'm a resident. I'm retired, but I'm not retired. And I don't think I need this. So. What I encourage you to look at, doing volunteer work within your community. that's how we all grow. Rotary is the largest service organization in the world, do great works. We actually were just at the Village Theater last night, and we had our ballet teen idol semifinals. It was a packed house. It was absolutely fantastic. And Rotary helps the community, helps the world. The other, Shelby's here with as president of the Chamber of Commerce, and it is a phenomenal organization. We are in a record pace, adding new members. Our goal is to help local businesses grow and prosper. And last but not least, I think, and I use this term, because you're 65, you don't have to die. And when you look at your senior years, it's the second bell curve of life. So I encourage you to look at volunteering, joining, doing something positive for your community. Thanks.
Great. Tom, thank you. And Shelby, what's happening?
I just want to announce something real fast. On Thursday, May 16th, the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with the Town of Danville, is doing a business outreach walk where we find about 150 businesses. Most of them are going to be retail this year, and we have volunteers who go out and survey those businesses that we've already assigned. And what we say is each person gets 3 businesses, and we're asked to ask 4 questions. The questions are, how is business? There's a multiple choice. We want to know, the new question this year is Danville moving in the right direction? We want to get the business people's input, and there is choices in each one of the questions. We've got Chief of Police is registered, Nat is registered, Robert Storer is registered, waiting on the registration from Newell Arnerich and Joe Calabrigo. But then at the end of the day, everybody's bringing their surveys back, and we're going to have a big mixer at the Museum of the San Ramon Valley. It's going to be with the key staff of the town council, the town commissioners, and we get to meet one-on-one informally with you get to meet your town manager, your mayor, and share a burger. So thank you.
How about Cindy? Want to pass on? Discover Danville? Anything going on at Discover Danville?
Yeah, we have several.
Here.
I'm not used to this. We have several events going on. Discover Danville is local merchants who join and put on, we put on the parties in conjunction a lot of times with Shelley's, with the chamber. We have a chocolate and wine stroll coming up on May 9th. We have Doggy Night coming up on May 23rd. We have Thursday night street festivals in July and August. And we all are just merchants who work together. We volunteer a lot of our time. We recently did a spring fling festival here at the Veterans Hall just several weeks ago. So we just get together and try to get people to come down and enjoy Danville. And while you're here participating in events, visit the shops and the restaurants and make Danville the town that we want it to be.
Great. Cindy, thank you. Thank you for all the work. Discover Danville partnership for our business is extraordinary, and it takes a lot of effort. They're all trying to run their own businesses and try to do this all at once. In the back there. Yeah.
I'm Gail Larson, and I work for Assemblymember Buchanan, but I would also like to make a shameless plug for the PTA Legislative Advocacy Day, which is next Friday. I don't know if you know, but the PTA Council, which covers the whole school district, here in the San Ramon Valley is probably the most active council in the state. And they've been putting this on for 32, 33 years. Typically, we've gone to Sacramento, and the last couple of years we've been holding it locally. So this is your opportunity to, the way we fund schools in the state is backwards. Sorry,
yeah.
it is.
True.
Right, Ken? The way we're doing this has been proposed, a new way of doing this. As Newell said, it hasn't been well thought out. Joan will be there, Mark will be there, Nancy Skinner will be there also next Friday. Registration's been extended. I know if you just come see me if you're interested in learning more about and attending. It's a great way to not have to go to Sacramento to do this and learn about it locally. So, shameless plug.
Great. Gail, thank you. Yes.
Well, I'm sort of invisible here, but once a month I get up at about 6:30 in the morning. I drive down to BART in Lafayette and work my way over to the Bay Area Quality Management District. And there I serve on a 20-member advisory council. And we are basically science-based, but we look at emerging issues that are related to air quality issues and climate change. The last few years, we've been involved with the wood smoke ordinances, the Spare the Air program. Right now, we're looking at black carbon, brown carbon as its impacts on air quality. But I see in what you presented here today about sustainability and school bus programs and the driving, all those things are perfectly consistent with what we're finding out about air quality. Next year, I'll be chairman of the group, and I've got a vision of trying to fold in noise as an air pollutant. May not succeed, it may take some legislative action to ever see that occur, but I think noise and air pollution sort of go hand in hand. The difference is that noise isn't very well regulated. It doesn't have a champion per se like the air quality district does. But that's what I do, Bill.
Great, thank you. And also used to be with PG&E and years ago retired and used to do
my second retirement.
yeah, energy audits and things like that. Was really an advocate for that. Jerry, anything you want to mention from Museum of San Ramon Valley?
Thank you. Museum of the San Ramon Valley is just finishing a great exhibit highlighting the historic families of the San Ramon Valley. So Roxy, who was a Wiedemann, we have a model of her home and a lot of history about her family and a lot of other families. So it'll be running through a week from Sunday, it'll be the last day. Then coming up at the end of the month, we're going to do an exhibit on the perspectives from Mount Diablo, this beautiful mountain that dominates our valleys. And as say Mount Diablo and Mount Diablo Interpretive Association, all these people coming together put this exhibit on, and it'll be running through June. So it'll be a very cool exhibit, and you'll learn a lot about Mount Diablo that you probably never did know, but you just part of your life, you just accept it, but it's really cool. The other thing we're doing is we're partnering with the library, and we're starting an interesting little series called California Magical History Tour. And California is a different state than all the other states in the Union. We were populated by waves of the Spanish, the Gold Rush people, the people that came from the Dust Bowl, the waves of immigrants coming in. And all these forces have changed this state in ways that no other state's ever been formed. And it's just a fascinating history. People came to California for their health. They didn't go to Iowa for their health, but they came here. So all these things have changed, and you're going to enjoy this tour. It's being done by Dave Stevenson, who's a Danville historian, and it'll be starting on the 17th. You can register by calling the museum at 837-3750, and we'll save a place for you. And we'll have some wine and cheese to, make the evening go along too. So, okay, thanks.
Jerry, thank you. Also, I was going to mention Jerry's also one of our commissioners on our Heritage Research. I have a quick question for you. So how was Mount Diablo formed?
Mount Diablo is...
I
can't talk.
Yeah, so how was formed? Most people think because it looks so perfectly symmetrical, it looks like it was volcanic. Well, it's tectonic plates. So the top of Mount Diablo was in the valley floor over here. So the mountain has moved, and the point has moved east. So that eastward, the point of that used to be here in the west. So, and if you get up there, you'll see the stratifications of how that plate has pushed it up there. So, yes.
I need to hire you as my spokesman. You're very smooth. You're very good. So Jim Crocker with the Danville Rotary, and on June 3rd we have our annual golf tournament, and 100% of the proceeds come here to the Vets Hall. We made a substantial commitment to the Vets Hall, and so come. I'll put a flyer in the back there, but June 3rd at Blackhawk, and it's a really fun tournament, very low key. Anyways, June 3rd. Thanks.
As you know, there are 6 Rotary clubs here in the San Ramon Valley, and Rotary's purpose, I belong to the Danville Sycamore Valley Rotary, and on May 9th, Thursday night, at the Blackhawk Museum is the Blackhawk Food, Wine, and Film Festival. It is our annual. It's a $50 donation to the foundation. You get invited to the best party in town, and that raises about $60,000 to $70,000 a year. All that money goes back to the community, and that's what Rotary's mission is. So, lots of great opportunities to help out. Yes. Lee?
The Exchange Club would like to invite you to bring your younger children and grandchildren out to a small petting zoo that we'll be putting on April 20th in conjunction with the Farmers Market over by Lenardi's as part of our annual child abuse prevention information program that we'll be putting on. And if you have younger kids, bring them on out, and I believe we'll have some riding animals and some petting animals.
That's good. Lee, thank you.
April 20th.
Lee is also one of our pioneer families here. He actually grew up where Fa's Restaurant is located. That's where his family home was. And Lee is also one of our fellow commissioners. Same, do you have something you want to share with the library? She didn't introduce herself. This is our librarian. She said she's with
Good
the
morning.
library.
I see many library patrons here today, so I just want to remind everybody we are a community of readers, and library cards are free at the library. In addition to print, we also have downloadable media, downloadable ebooks, audiobooks, books on CDs, DVDs. And in addition to our incredible collection, we also have many special events. One coming up, California Magical History Tour. But we also have on April 20th, and many thanks to you, Newell, for emceeing our Earth Day celebration. It's in partnership with the Town of Danville as well as Sustainable Danville area. We're just going to celebrate the world around us and the earth that we live in. So we have many special activities, vendors. We have La Boulange Catering, special activities. We have the Charles Schultz Museum coming for the kids. And that's on Saturday, April 20th from noon to 4. We'll also be unveiling the winners of our Earth Day poster contest as well. And that is free. We also have a preview of Requiem for a Heavyweight next Thursday at the Danville Library. We usually have a great turnout, so please come in early. We also are bringing the America's Cup to the Danville Library. So the second part of the series is going to be in 2 weeks on the 23rd. It talks about the competition, the technology of the America's Cup that's coming to San Francisco. So many more activities to come, so please stay tuned.
Great. Saying thank you, and also, the library is, obviously Singh is our librarian. There's a lot of volunteers that help make that organization work as well. Another great example of that. Anybody else have any announcements they'd like to share, Chief or Emily? Anything you want to share with us? Yeah.
So good morning. Senator Giussoni is hosting open office hours on May 20th. So before you head down to the Earth Day celebration, if you want to bike or walk down the Iron Horse Trail to the Alamo Chamber of Commerce offices, you'll be able to talk to him about regional planning issues, the weighted state budget formula for education, whatever issues you have of interest. Please feel free to stop by 11 to 1. I have flyers. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Gail, anything you wanted? Anything up in the supervisor's office?
No, just that our office is down over here at the Bank of the West building at 309 Diablo Boulevard. If you have any county issues, please come in and talk to us.
So let's give better directions. It's across the street from the Danville Rotary. That's the easiest way to Ken, did you want to do that? And we'll go over to
Just real quick, we're talking a lot about education as part of everything here. But I just want to point out, our focus as a school district is provide the best possible education every single student every single day. And it's always nice, though, occasionally to get word from others that demonstrates that we're doing a good job. In just the last couple of weeks, some of those things have been coming our direction. Graduation rates across the state were just announced. We have like the top graduation states levels in the state, 97%. It goes beyond just our normal, across the board student population, but our special subcategories, African American students, Latin American students, those students are doing very, very well, way, way above state averages as well. Also, just yesterday, Tom Torkelson, our state superintendent, announced the schools at the secondary level that were just identified as distinguished schools across the state. In our district, we had 5 of our middle schools reach that plateau this year. To put that in perspective, first, Charlottewood and Diablo Vista here in Danville were 2 of those. Put that in perspective, there was only one school district in the state that had 6. And that was Los Angeles. You think about the size of the LA school district compared to ours.
Largest the Bay Area.
And then the next one down, no one else had 5, a few had 4 across the state. So really, it's just those kind of small indicators that, we talk about test scores, things like that. You look at the quality of the education from an individual student perspective. Like I say, it's always nice to get those kind of affirmations of how we're doing compared to others. So.
Nice. Good job.
Real quick, the local control funding formula that Newell mentioned earlier is mentioned as well. The school board did put out a resolution this past week about the kinds of concerns and issues that we had with it. you know, in many ways, there's some very, very positive things about it. I want to make sure that across the state, we are really working hard to educate every student. We just want to make sure that, kind of as a basis to that, we're not doing any harm to everyone else. And we're one of those school districts that don't get a lot of extra funding for a lot of the special subcategories of students. And so we just want to make sure that as we continue to grow, our programs grow, we want to make sure that we're not losing track of our funding through that process. So we're working very hard with our representatives to make sure that we maintain our level of funding as these kinds of changes are put in place.
Great, Ken, thank you. And thanks to all the other board members. Question or announcement over there?
A comment.
Yes.
My wife and I are new citizens here. We've only been here 25 years. But we like to walk downtown, and some people call us the sidewalk inspectors.
Yes, you are good at that.
I picked up a curb that wasn't painted red, and I mentioned that to the town manager, and finally down by Trader Joe's, they finally painted the curb red because there's a hydrant there. I've talked to many people about this bus stop across from Lenardi's that's always got trash underneath the bench because people come, they drink their coffee, they eat their sandwich, the bus comes, and they throw it like this under. There's no garbage can there. So they have no place to put their trash. All it takes is a can.
So should we go after the people who are violating and throwing it, or do you want a
No,
trash can?
no, just put a trash
can. That's a good idea.
Because across the street in front of that insurance building, there's a beautiful concrete, nothing is in it. If you just move it across the street and let the people that are sitting there put their trash in, we have a cleaner.
Let me take an act of Congress, that's heavy. Thank you for that. No, you're right, that's very good. Well, great, we have really, we're just right at 8:30. Really want to thank everybody for coming here. And I hope the message is to you, if you have something, let's try to use this as a forum. This will get podcast out so people can get a little advertisement, know what's happening in our community. Your opportunity in Rotary, service clubs, to get the messages out, and we'll post sort of a basic theme of what we're going to cover in each one, but we'll save half the time so that you have time to make announcements, and where we can have a conversation, we'll do that. So enjoy this lovely spring day. I'm standing in the sunshine as it's got up here now, and I hope you will participate in all those wonderful things that we've been talking about, particularly the legislative action days. Even if you don't have to be there to say anything, it's just good information. Get the facts. What you read in the paper is not necessarily well covered in depth. You have the opportunity to find out. And also join us at a council meeting, first and third Tuesday of the month, 7:30 Town Meeting Hall. Love to see you. Great, thanks for coming today.